All right, welcome back. A few videos before this, right on the channel, you can scroll down. You're going to see that we did a in-depth preview for Tim Tszyu versus Bakhram Murtazaliev, which is still on track to take place next week in Orlando. Right now, it is October the 11th, 2024. Tomorrow, the long-awaited card or fight between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol for Undisputed is finally happening. But there are two Australian champions on the card, one being Skye Nicolson, 11-0 with 1 KO, and the other being Jai Opetaia, the cruiserweight champion, at 25-0 with 19 KOs. So for Jai, he's fighting the Jock Massey, and I was surprised to hear this week that he's looking to possibly heading to bridgerweight or heavyweight, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. First, got my colleague Big J on the line. Welcome. Please subscribe and like. We're going to talk about some Australian boxing. So let me tell you who we have on the docket. Of course, we got Jai Opetaia, Skye Nicolson, both of their opponents. Sam Goodman versus Inoue, which is supposed to be happening the end of the year, likely New Year's Eve. Dempsey McKean is returning against Moses Itauma. And you have, who else are we missing? We're going to talk about what's possibly going on with the Maloney's and Justice Hooney. So first, let's start with...
Liam Paro.
Oh, and Liam Paro. Yes, Liam Paro in a weird fight in Puerto Rico taking on Richardson Hitchins. But first, we're going to start with Skye Nicolson, who tomorrow in the first World Championship fight in Saudi Arabia, the first fight, women's fight in Saudi Arabia boxing match was Ramla Ali. I forgot who she fought. But this is the first championship fight in Saudi Arabia, and she's going to be taking on a Raven Chapman. I was actually at Skye Nicholson's last fight and had a chance to talk to her when she had beat and pretty much outclassed Diana Vargas, and now she's fighting Raven Chapman, who is 9-0 with 2 KOs. But me and Big J talked about it in a video about a month back of how that 9-0 is only smoke and mirrors. For example, you can see she beat back in 2023, a girl named Lucy Salakova. But if you go look at Lucy Sakova's record, who is she beating? A fighter who's 10-13, 14-46, 0-11, 0-4, 16-9, 9-18. So this is one of those records where you look at it, it's like, oh, okay, she's undefeated, 9-0. However, when you go look at the people that she was beating and the people that they were beating, then you start going down that rabbit hole. You see, well, wait a minute, how good is this girl really? And also, she's talking about knocking out Skye Nicolson. So let's talk about the fight. Skye Nicholson's last fight was back in July of this year. I was at that fight. She's now fighting Raven Chapman, and her ultimate goal is to possibly get Amanda Serrano one day, which is looking like it's going to be to be very honest, not sure that's going to happen. So, Big J, what do we know about this fight, and what do you think about it? I'm picking Skye, but to be very honest, Skye's one of them type of fighters to me where she seems to have a high ceiling, but, I also feel that she can lose to any old journey woman fighter any day, any fight. I'm not confident in her.
Well, I've been saying this for a long time, mate, that even though Skye is 11 fights into her career, she still has that amateurish style, and she's very, very easy to read. Jab, jab, hook, move to the right. Jab, jab, hook, move to the right.
Yeah.
I mean, a good puncher, I've been saying it ever since we started covering Skye Nicolson, a good counterpuncher will knock that girl on her ass. So, and Raven Chapman might be the one to do it. However, Raven Chapman is a bum-bashing bum, right? As her record shows, nothing but nobodies. Okay, yeah, she's 9 and she's defeated. She's undefeated, and some of the opponents she's fought were undefeated, but go and look who they were fighting. So,
yeah.
I think this will go to distance, and most likely Skye will get the decision. What's Chapman ranked? Is she 7 in the WBC? I know that she's ranked in the top 10.
I do not have the women's rankings up.
Okay, hang on. Let me see if I can find it.
But either way, it doesn't, to be very honest, if she's ranked that high, one thing I can say about the women's boxing rankings is a lot of times they don't make sense. They're not as intricate as the men's boxing or detailed as the men's boxing rankings.
That's because women's boxing is not as strong as men's boxing yet.
Exactly, with the talent pool, exactly.
But the thing is, here's the thing what people seem to need to remember. Men have been boxing for 120 years, right? 120 years. It's taken men 120 years to get to this point. And women think they can come along and do it in a year or two? Yeah. Fucking bullshit. It's like the WNBA, the WAFL, the WNRL that we've got here in Australia, right? These girls are not going to come along and take over the sport and dominate within 5 years. Fuck off. It's going to take them decades, because it took the men decades to get to where it is. Women just can't think that they can rock up and go, oh, we're here now, so we're going to be the best in the world after 5 years. Fuck off, you are. Yeah. You got to put in decades of bloody work and, you know, getting people to crowds and building up the sport, just like the men did. It's taken men 120 years of boxing to get to this point. If women think they can come along and do it in 5, they're fucking arrogant. So, no, you've got to prove yourself just like everyone else. So, and of course, the talent pool is smaller. There's less women fighters, even though it's coming along. But, yeah, there's a long way to go for the females. And at the moment, you can't compare men's sport to women's sport. Anyone that does is a fucking moron. To her credit,
you know, to me, you know, the Sarah Mahfoud win was a nice, solid win for her. But now, after this, it has to be a unification. Now, as I'm looking right now, you have the German girl, Nina Manke. I don't want to butcher her last name. She has the IBF title. You have have
all the other titles, no?
What'd you say?
Doesn't Amanda Serrano still have all the other 126 titles?
No. No, she doesn't. The IBF is vacant. And the IBF and the WBC are vacant.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, the IBF and the IBF and Tierra Brown seems to be fighting for the interim title. So she's working her way to be the so Tierra Brown, who is supposed to be, who is viewed as a boogeyman in women's boxing in that 126-pound division, is fighting Diana Vargas for the WBC interim title tomorrow.
Which will make it mandatory for Skye. And Tierra Brown...
The fight's tomorrow.
I've got the ratings in front of me. Tierra Brown is currently ranked number 3. WBC, and Raven Chapman is number 7. So, you think that if Skye Nicolson does not get a unification bout next, she's got to fight Tierra Brown. Yeah, she's got to fight Tierra Brown.
So it's looking like Amanda Serrano still has that WBA belt.
Right. Well, I'm looking on the WBC website. It says here WBO IBF is Amanda Serrano. What does BoxRec say?
Well, BoxRec no longer shows the WBA titles, but it says here that this. What'd you say?
What's the go on that? How come the BoxRec doesn't show WBA titles?
It's heavily rumored that the Saudis have brought up BoxRec's competitor. I forgot what their name is. It's another site by BoxRec. I mean, like BoxRec. But basically, and also, it's heavily rumored that the WBA was purchased by the Saudis as well. Even if you go to the WBA website, Riyadh season is all over it. So it's looking like they're in cahoots, or may have purchased the Zone, the WBC, the WBA, Golden Boy, Matchroom, Queensberry. Long story short, it's looking like they're buying up sanctioning bodies. And also, if you don't know, they also purchased the Ring magazine recently.
Fair enough. Okay.
You know, so they're taking over. But yeah, it says the IBF title is vacant.
All right. Well, if the Saudis are going to run things the same way UFC does, it's only going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Only going to be a good thing. But if they don't, it's probably going to turn to shit quickly. But anyway, back on topic.
Yeah. So there we go, Skye. So basically, she has to fight. She has to have a unification next, or fight Tierra Brown, and it's looking like it may lead to Tierra Brown.
Yep, and I think Tierra Brown has been ducked a little bit.
Yeah, she's viewed as somewhat of a boogeyman in the division, yes.
But what's her record? I mean, I've never seen her fight. Is she any good?
Yeah, she's got some nice power to her. But from what I remember, she lost. Hold on, let me check. Because I seen a fight of hers years ago, and I was like, wait a minute.
Is she a good counterpuncher? Because that would be Skye's weakness.
I believe she is a good counterpuncher. Yes, I can say so.
Yeah. As I say, anyone who can counterpunch Skye, that girl's in trouble. So,
but also she has one of those resumes as well at 17-0 with 11 KOs, where she's got a lot of opponents with not good records. For example, a 19-12, 7-5, 24-18, 17-28. So she's in that same pool, but it could be argued that she hasn't been getting the good fights for whatever reason, but still her resume is trash as well.
Yeah, but to be fair, as well, I just stated, the women's division is a lot weaker than the men's. There's only a certain amount of fighters. It's going to take time for the women's division to grow. It's not going to happen overnight. It will happen, and we'll be glad when it does, but it's not going to happen overnight. In the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be a lot stronger than what it is now. Everyone knows that. So, yeah, it's just a matter of time. Hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years where we've got these girls like the guys who are going from amateurs to pros, right, and got good amateur records, then we'll start building just like the men. They'll have good amateur records, they'll be gold, they'll be medalists at the Olympics or Commonwealth Games, and they'll start their pro careers, right, not out the back of some YMCA or YWCA somewhere, off the back of a good, decent amateur background. And that's starting to happen now. So in another decade, it'll be even stronger. So, but with the fight, I'm going 50-50. I don't know who's going to win. I'm leaning towards Chapman. I've just got a gut feeling I think Raven's got Skye's number somehow, but I don't know. What do you think?
No, I'm still, from what I've seen with Skye Nicolson, as long as she moves, okay, we can say that, and we both acknowledged in our last video that we did for her post fight that she is getting better. She is getting better, but there's still room for improvement. But I'm going with Skye Nicolson, and I think she's going to be able to outbox Raven Chapman.
Oh, fair enough. We'll see tomorrow.
Moving on, a fight that pretty much came out of nowhere for me, and we were wondering what this guy was doing. Australian boxing heavyweight Dempsey McKean is taking on prospect Moses Itauma on the undercard of Fury versus Usyk. Usyk versus Fury 2. Now, here's the undercard. It's going to be Isaac Lowe versus Lee McGregor, Dennis McCann versus Peter McGrail, Johnny Fisher versus Dave Allen. There's a lot of controversy around that fight because a lot of people feel Dave Allen shouldn't be fighting anymore. And Itauma versus Dempsey McKean, Sergey Bohachuk versus Israel Madrimov. So far, a pretty solid undercard. That's going to be on December the 21st. But we're here to talk about Dempsey McKean versus Moses Itauma. Now, Moses is, how can I say, he's supposed to be Frank Warren's next Daniel Dubois. High volume pressure fighter, power puncher, 19 years old, 10-0 with 8 KOs. To me, I haven't seen enough from him yet. His last fight was a second round knockout of Marouge Wak. It was his second 10-round fight. And basically, he's moving up into the top 15 of the sanctioning bodies. But here's the thing. Even though you may not think too highly of Dempsey McKean, 22-1 with 14 KOs, I feel that maybe this is too soon of a step up for Itauma. For example, Dempsey McKean's last fight was a fight against Felix Hergovich, in which he got knocked out. Since, of course, Felix Hergovich has lost to Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois went on to win that vacant IBF title to go on to beat Anthony Joshua recently. So, and also Dempsey McKean hasn't fought since August of last year. So by the time he steps into the ring, he'll be on a 16-month layoff. What did you think when you first heard this news?
I'm like, where the fuck did they dig up Dempsey McKean from? I thought Justice Hooney would be a better selection. Mm-hmm. But that's just me. I think Justice Hooney would be probably the right opponent for young fella. What's his name?
Moses Itauma.
Moses Itauma, yeah. I think Justice Hooney would have been the right opponent. I think Dempsey McKean, what a letdown he was. But then again, I've been saying ever since we started this video, the heavyweight division in Australia is very, very limited. Mm-hmm. We have never had anything to speak of. We know Lucas Brown. I love Brownie. He's a great bloke. But he was champion for like 3 seconds. Alex Leopold got his shot against Klitschko. Klitschko knocked him out in 5, and that's all what we've really got to speak about in the heavyweight division from Australia. So Dempsey McKean would probably be a gatekeeper role at this point. I mean, his fight against Felix Herbert, which was fucking dreadful. Everyone said that. It was an awful fight, and both of them are to blame. You can't just go blaming Dempsey. I mean, Herbert should have knocked him out long before he did. Yeah. But, I mean, if this is an opportunity, let's look at the positives. Well, this is the opportunity for Dempsey and McKean to possibly turn things around. If he knocks this kid out, then he.
It's going to be a huge. It's going to be a huge upset. It's going to be. It's going to be a huge upset. It's probably going to trend more than the main event.
Exactly. If Dempsey knocks it out, I would put it up the same when Mark Hunt knocked out Sonny Bill. Yeah. So his stock will rise greatly, and if he pulls it off, great. I mean, I obviously want him to get a win because I want him to see him in the winner's circle and all that sort of stuff. But I think Dempsey's just there as, and I don't like saying this, but this is probably the fact. This is cannon fodder for this young kid.
That's exactly. You're not wrong. That's exactly what it is. And Dempsey is looking at it like, he's likely looking at it like, oh, this kid's too green. I should be able to beat him. By the way, Justice Hooney is ranked number 5 by the WBO, and number 6 is Moses Itauma. Hooney is also ranked by the IBF at number 15. So that goes to show you right there, if Dempsey McKean wins, he's going to shoot right up there, and a possible fight between him and Justice Hooney would likely happen. But yes, if he was to beat Itauma, it will be a huge upset and will possibly overshadow the main event, depending on how that ends. And I'm talking about on social media. It would be the highlight of the night.
Oh, absolutely. But, I mean, obviously Dempsey's, I don't like saying this because it sounds a bit disrespectful, but it's not. But I think he's just there to make up the numbers. Yeah. Which I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Dempsey gets out there and just obliterates this kid. But in reality, is it going to happen? I doubt it. So, but I wish him all the best. So.
Yeah. I guess we're going to touch on this real quick before we move on to Paro versus Hitchins. Sam Goodman is looking like he's going to be getting this shot against Inoue for Undisputed. You're saying the date that's circulating around is New Year's Eve, right?
Nah, Christmas Eve, mate. Christmas Eve. Gotcha. Remember, you wanted to send me to that. I said, no way, my kids will gut me.
Yeah. Christmas Eve. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. No disrespect to Sam Goodman, but he's going to get slaughtered.
But look at this. Look at the positive. Let's have a look at another positive, right? If Sam pulls this off, this will be the biggest win in Australian boxing history, bar none.
By far, it'll be the big. Yeah, that's the bright side. The biggest upset it would be in history, and probably actually one of the biggest upsets of all time. It would be. Oh, no, it would be one of the biggest upsets of all time. I'm supposed probably definitely top 20.
Inoue is no argument a podium for pound. It's just a matter of, because your top 3 are Canelo, Crawford, Inoue. It's just a matter of which order you stick.
And they flip flop with Usyk right there as well. But yeah, all 3 of those guys can alternate. All 4 of those guys can be number 1.
Exactly. If Sam pulls this off, it's bigger than when Jeff beat Pacquiao, because Pacquiao was 38 years old. He was not right. He's not in his prime. It's bigger than when Lionel Rose beat Fighting Harada, right? Even though, that was 60 years ago, and obviously I wasn't even born for that, so I don't know the history. You can only look up so much. It's one of those fights where you need to see it. You had to be alive at the time to understand how big it was. So, it'll beat everything bar none. Can Sam get it done? It'll take a fucking miracle. But imagine if here's a question for you. If Sam pulls it off, where does he sit on the pound for pound rankings? Your thoughts?
Oh, well, if he pulls it off, he's definitely going to be. He has to go into the top 10. He's undisputed. So I would put him number 4.
Yep, I was going to say number 5. I was going to say number 5.
Number 4 or 5. Because if he wins,
his resume is not strong enough. You take away the win over Inoue, his resume is pretty weak.
But the belts, though, he beat the man that beat the man. The belts that's automatically going to get him up there.
Bivol didn't go to number 1 when he beat Canelo. But then again, that was
that was at 175. That wasn't undisputed.
Yeah, true. But I think he'd go number 5. But then again, the real work starts because then he's got to keep the belts. Winning the belts is only half the battle. He's got to keep them.
Yeah. I just feel that if he stays, I mean, the chances that he has, he's got to stay disciplined. We know Inoue can be hurt. We've seen it now. We've seen him in some trouble in 2 fights. And Nonito Donaire, even though he's a legend, he broke his face. So, Inouye's got some vulnerabilities. Can Sam exploit that? How? But the biggest thing is, can he take the onslaught and the high technical, high accuracy of Inoue, especially when it comes to the body shots? Because when he hits you, you will go down. It's only a matter of time. You're going down.
I'm surprised. How long did he take to take care of TJ Doty? Was it 7-8 rounds?
Yeah. And he was just boxing. Exactly. Exactly.
That was twice as long as what he should have took. He should have knocked him out in 4. So that was a little. So there's definitely some kinks or openings in Inouye's armor, and Sam needs to find them and exploit the shit out of them. Yeah. So.
Well, we will see, and of course we're going to be here covering that fight. It's going to be really early in the morning because it's Japan. Don't be surprised if they're in the ring by no later than 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But on to the next fight, which is going to be on Puerto Rico. For those who don't know, Subriel Matias, former IBF champion at 140 pounds, and Matchroom Boxing, they have split. We don't know if Matias was released, or we don't know if he left Matchroom. We just know that they're no longer working together. And this is why I feel that we're getting a Liam Paro, an Australian, versus an African-American fighter, Richardson Hitchins, in Puerto Rico, of all places. Because I personally feel that Matchroom, they had an obligation and a deal from, to put the fight from the government, to put the fight on in the local government, to put the fight on, put a card on in Puerto Rico. And that's why I feel like this fight had to happen there. But it just doesn't make any sense. Richardson Hitchins, his last fight here, let me pull up his resume. To be very honest, okay, I was never high on him. I was actually at his debut in the Barclays Center back in 2017, and he was a really, really big deal out of New York. And as he's moved his way up and worked his way up the rankings, I guess I can say that I haven't really seen anything really special. So, and I'm going to go ahead and say, as far as Liam Paro is concerned, I had a feeling that he was going to do good against Subriel Matias. I had a feeling that he was being underestimated, but I'm still going to say that I feel this is a 50-50 fight between Liam Paro and Richardson Hitchins. But first of all, let's talk about how this fight ended up in Puerto Rico. What are your thoughts?
Fucking stupid. I'll tell you, Eddie Hearn drives me fucking insane. He really does. Right? For the Australian fellas, he pisses all over their careers, and yet he does everything for the girls. This fight makes absolutely no sense. So I thought Matias was supposed to be on the undercard of this fight. Now I understand that's been moved to like November 7th or something. So it's been moved a month early. This fight has been... Liam was apparently going to fight Devin Haney in Townsville on the same day, which... it would have been awesome, but not going to happen. Then George Kambosos' name was thrown up. Same day, they were talking about in Australia, so I thought, okay, George versus Liam in Townsville, sort of makes sense. This makes zero bloody sense. I have to agree with you. There's got to be some sort of contractual obligation Eddie's under to provide whomever in Puerto Rico a fight, because why the fuck else would you have an Australian versus a Yank in bloody Puerto Rico of all places?
Yeah.
It makes, and Eddie's screwing Liam out of his homecoming.
Yeah, how about that? Eddie, he can lose his belt in Puerto Rico.
He fucked us out of Ebony versus Shannon. He took that over to England because he wanted the simps there. The bloody just sit there and beat off the fucking Ebony's weighing pictures. He fucked Brock Jarvis's career by throwing him into a bloody one-sided mismatch with Liam Paro. He does fuck all for pretty much everyone else. Oh God, Eddie Hearn makes my fucking blood
And as
boil.
I'm looking
Really,
at the the undercard, of course they surrounded the main event with Spanish speaking fighters. So like you said, it totally makes sense that this is a contractual obligation, and that it's a fight that had to happen. And they couldn't put it anywhere else, especially when it comes to Liam Paro.
They couldn't have given him. They couldn't have thrown. I mean, it had to be a Paro fight. Couldn't they have thrown someone else in there? Surely there must be a Puerto Rican bloke who's near a title shot somewhere in some division.
As I'm looking at the rankings right now. Well, let me break down who the champions are. Teofimo Lopez, the WBO champion, he was flirting with a fight at 147 with Brian Norman. Right now, he's on the shelf as he's trying to get out of his Top Rank contract. So I would not expect him to be fighting anytime soon. But also, he's been calling out and chasing a fight with Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is not interested. Jose Rayo Venezuela is heavily rumored to be in a rematch with Isaac Cruz on the undercard of David Benavidez versus David Morrell sometime in January or February of 2025. He was offered a fight with Tank Davis, but he would have had to move down to 135 pounds. So now Tank Davis is fighting Lamont Roach, moving up from 130 I believe it's December the 12th. Alberto Puello is the WBC champion, and he's supposed to be fighting Sandor Martin, heavily rumored to be on the undercard also of Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach, possibly as a free prelim fight on Amazon Prime. And Devin Haney is the champion in recess. We don't know what he's doing, but we do know that he is now, despite saying that he would never fight him again, he's now entertaining a rematch with Ryan Garcia. But Ryan Garcia still has a lot of issues outside of the ring. And Jack Catterall and Regis Prograis are also fighting. In fact, I forgot what date that was. Do you remember what date that was?
I think it's November 16th or something.
I believe it is. I'm checking now. They're going to be fighting on October the 26th. That's in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah, that's a couple of weeks. Well, I think
go ahead.
Catterall will beat the piss out of Prograis. I think Prograis is starting to become shot because he looked like absolute shit in that Devin Haney fight.
Yeah, so, and he's getting older too.
Yeah, I don't think he's got I think Jack Catterall will beat the absolute piss out of him. So,
yeah. And Arnold Barboza is going to be taking on Jose Ramirez on the undercard of Gilberto Ramirez versus CBS Chris Billum Smith, November the 16th on a Mexican card in Saudi Arabia, by the way. And that right there is the top movers and shakers in the 140-pound division. And then you have guys like Josh Taylor. We don't know what he's doing. Gary Antoine Russell, PBC fighter. We don't know what he's doing. Ruly Romero. Well, I'm glad that he's no longer really a thing. And, we don't know what Sabril Matias is doing next. But what do you think about the fight, and what chances are you giving Liam Paro to beat Richardson Hitchins?
Well, I've spoken to a couple of blokes who know who Richardson Hitchins is, and they reckon he might have a bit of an advantage over Liam.
You know what? Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why it is. Because he's a technical fighter, not a power puncher. Some may call him pillow fisted, but he can make the fight boring to where he can play keep away. Like right. similar to a lower level Devin Haney.
Well,
he can play it safe the whole fight.
If he's pillow fisted, then Liam's just going to go straight after him like he did against Matias, because Matias can bang, right? And Liam neutralised him. So if Richardson Hitchins is going to play that keep away game, that's not going to work against Liam, because he'll just rush straight up to him and put 15 into him, just like he did.
But he's got to be able to catch him now. Hitchins got some movement.
He's got some movement. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, Liam does have good movement. He's got good footwork.
Sabril Matias was more of a pressure fighter, power puncher, not really technical, not really a mover or evasive.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't think Liam's fought someone who's got good footwork and evasiveness. Because
it was supposed to be Montana Love, but Montana Love was overrated.
Fuck off. Yeah, he was overrated as shit. I mean, speaking of which, Stevie Spark has had a hand surgery and might be making a return, I've heard. So
interesting. So we talked about it. He probably just wanted to spend some time with the family, get the injuries taken care of, because he had a hell of a run. Like he was busy.
Well, we'll see. I've heard rumblings that there's going to be a major announcement. HG. We'll keep. Hopefully, Sparky does get back in the ring because Sparky versus Paro is the best fight at 140 to make, without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. So Australia-wise, anyway.
But yeah, we're going to be covering this fight. It's a ways away. It's 7 weeks away. Hopefully, it goes through. But then again, I won't be surprised if they move this fight. Pay attention to that as well. If the tickets are not moving well, don't be surprised if this fight gets moved.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, mate, but I don't see how an Australian versus a Yank. Does Richardson Hitchins have any history of Puerto Rico? Does he have any roots?
No. Well, here's the thing. But Puerto Rico is they got a rich boxing history.
I know that. But
so maybe the event. No. He has no roots down there. He's always been a New York fighter.
Okay, fair enough. And we all know Liam Paro is a Aussie, and the only reason he went there was to fight Matthias.
Yeah.
And with not being on the card, maybe it's just one of those things where the Puerto Ricans are like, oh, well, there's a fight on, bugger it, we'll go and watch it, just like Australian fans.
Yeah, that's the culture.
Yeah. Oh, well, if that's the culture, then they should do well, but it still doesn't make any bloody sense.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't.
Is there any Puerto Ricans on this card or just Spanish?
Yeah, no, there are. I'm not. It's a whole bunch of people we don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Outside of Jalil Hackett, Mark Castro, but for the most part, the fighters that are on there, like low-level prospect, Puerto Rican and Spanish-speaking fighters.
Well, look at the bright side, mate. It's a chance for these guys to showcase their skills and get picked up on a major card, which gives them national exposure. So there's a positive.
So my gut feeling is saying that whoever wins this fight is going to go on to fight the winner of Prograis and Catterall. But the problem is there's no belt, and what we're waiting for is if Teofimo is going to be a champion in recess. Is he going to drop the belt? Alberto Puello, he's the WBC. He's with PBC. Rayo, WBA, he's with PBC. And he's linked to Isaac Cruz too. So if it's not a unification, which is it's probably not going to be if he beats Hitchins, then his homecoming. I'm guessing they can probably put him against anybody in the top 15 because it's a homecoming, and he already had 2 tough fights.
Yeah, well, they can still throw George in there if they want for his homecoming, but he's got to get past this fight first. Mm. And I'll say they'll probably around May of next year.
Yeah.
So I'd say because George has a habit of fighting in May around that time of year. So if Liam does get past Richardson Hitchins, which we all hope he does, then he should have his homecoming and possibly against George in next May. I'm throwing that out there.
All right, the last fight we got to talk about is the Cruiserweight Championship fight that's happening tomorrow on the undercard of Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. That's the undisputed fight. It's going to be on the Zone. The cards, here's how weird it is here in the States. The card is going to be the undercard, headlined by Fabio Wardley and Fraser Clark 2. Is going to be on the Zone. They're charging $20 for that. Ridiculous. But over on ESPN Plus, you get Artur Beterbiev and Bivol main event only. So just a weird broadcasting detail for over here in the States. But Jai Opetaia is going to be taking on Jack Massey. I've actually covered Jack Massey fight twice. When he fought Joseph Parker, that was last year. And then when he fought Richard Riakporhe back in 2019. And what I can tell you is he's gotten a lot better, I guess, over his last couple of fights. I also covered the fight when he outpointed Isaac Chamberlain. But Opetaia, if he's the guy that we've been seeing him to be, he can be the mover boxer. And he doesn't have to worry about the constant pressure later on in the fight of a highly skilled Miras Briedis, who retired, by the way. I believe he could possibly stop Jack Massey, despite the fact that Massey's never been stopped. But this is outside of Massey, fighting at heavyweight. This is a different type of fighter than he's ever fought before in Jai Opetaia. As far as like speed and movement. What are your thoughts on the fight? Oh, and by the way, Opetaia this week. they were talking about he was entertaining possibly moving to Bridgerweight or heavyweight. And I would think, well, what's the point of that unless he's really having issues with the weight now at this stage of his career? Because he has a chance to unify at cruiserweight between the winner of Gilberto Ramirez and Chris Billum Smith, since both of them are fighting on Riyadh season Saudi Arabian card. And of course, Opetaia is fighting tomorrow on a Saudi Arabian card. The only fighter or championship that's out of the mix right now, and he's had several fights scheduled under Don King, but they haven't come to fruition, is Noel McCallion, who's the WBC champion, and Badou Jack is the champion in the recess. There was also even some chatter of Opetaia facing Badou Jack. But let's start with Jacques Massey. What are your thoughts on this fight, and what do you think this does for Opetaia?
Well, I don't think it does much for Opetaia because I think he'll smash this bloke probably inside of 6-7 rounds. But the problem is, I don't think Jai's having any problems with the weight, because if you look at his weight, he always weighs in around 198 and a half.
Yeah.
So he weighs in a full pound and a half below 200-pound limit. That's not someone struggling to make weight. So whoever's saying that clearly doesn't watch the weigh-ins, because he always weighs in around 198 something. He never weighed in at 199. So he's not struggling with the weight. And this talk about going to Bridgerweight is just bullshit.
Lawrence O'Connor just dropped his Bridgerweight title. It's a dead division. The fighters never defend.
Exactly. Bridgerweight's deader than bloody cruiserweight.
Yeah.
Which is deader than middleweight. We all know how much of a mess middleweight is at the moment.
And that's what I'm thinking. Is it possible that the money's calling him at heavyweight?
Why? Who's he going to...
Well, think about it. He would be a part of that new breed, and you know, the heavyweights right now are making a lot of money. He would be a part of that next generation outside of Usyk, Fury, Joshua. But when it comes to guys like Danny Dubois, Joseph Parker, Zheli Zhang, Martin Bakole, Edge Cabiel, Fabio Wardley, you know, maybe he's thinking, you know, he can test the waters up there because, you know, there's a bigger talent pool of competition. He'll never see a Fury or a Usyk, you know, or even a Joshua, but I wouldn't doubt that he would see a Danny Dubois. He's going to definitely see, if he moves up, he would see a Danny Dubois.
Absolutely. I mean, that would be the fight.
I think it's the money that's calling him. You even got Big Baby Miller, Andy Ruiz, you know, Jared Big Baby Anderson. I mean, we've already talked about it. The Saudis own the heavyweight division. They own it.
But here's the problem. I don't see Jai being able to handle another 20 pounds on his frame because he just hasn't got the frame for it.
It would slow him down. I think so, too.
It would slow him down. I mean, he's not... Just looking at him, his frame, I reckon, can only handle 220 pound max.
But think about it. If he just comes into, let's say, for example, his walk around weight is about 210, maybe 215. Remember, Deontay Wilder was weighing that, but Deontay Wilder had the power, but he was weighing that. He may have had the height, but he was skin and bones.
Yeah, he was. But Deontay Wilder is just one of those natural born freaks.
Yeah.
So. Jai Opetaia is not no Deontay Wilder, and plus, why would you want to be? Deontay Wilder was a one-trick pony. Jai's a far more.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the weight, though. You know, he would be able to, even if you go back to guys like Chris Bird, he was in a division where it was, you know, like big guys like Lennox Lewis and the Klitschko's. You know, so when you look at the next batch of heavyweights outside of Joshua and Fury, hell, even Usyk is about 6'3". You know, you got guys like, you know, Bakole, who's about 6'2". Idris Cabiel, about 6'2". Justice Hooney, 6'4". Joseph Parker, 6'4". So they're not as big, and these are not guys that are coming in 260, 270 like the Furies. You know, it's a smaller class of heavyweights in the newer era.
Yeah, you're right. They are smaller because they're not as big as the two previous generations. So, yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I really don't think he should go. Should wait until the Usyks and the Furies and the Joshuas and all those guys are out of the way and then go up.
I think because he has a chance to, like, if he fights the winner of Gilberto Ramirez and Chris Billum Smith, that'll be 2 belts right there, and he'll have a chance to be a 3-belt champion. And then, you know, try to chase McCallion, because right now, It's been said in media that Don King's not doing well, the best to him, but he has a history of when he has a fighter that has a championship, he tends to hold them up and hold on to those belts as long as possible, and play hardball when it comes to unifications.
Yeah. Well, I think this is another chance for Jai to showcase his skills. I think Jack Massey, to his credit, is better than the last two guys. Mm-hmm. Jai fought before Britus getting the rematch. What was their names? Jordan something?
Who?
The two blokes that Jai fought before he fought Britus again. What were their names?
Jordan Thompson. Ellis Zorro and Jordan Thompson.
Yeah, Jordan. I think Jack Massey's a class ahead of those two blokes, which is good for Jai. Yeah, you want him in good fights. You don't want him in one-sided mismatches because it doesn't do anything for him.
Yeah.
So you want him in a good fight where he gets a decent opponent, last 6, 7, 8 rounds. Jai cleans him up and then he moves on to his unification bout. So
another thing, I noticed Britus really did a number on his jaw. That man don't talk the same. I was looking at some interviews from him a few years ago compared to now. He did a number on him.
Oh, well, you never recover from something like that.
Yeah, he did it, man. Sometimes it looks like painful for him to talk or he struggles to talk.
Yeah, no one ever recovers. No one's ever the same from that. I mean, look at Ali when Ken Norton broke his jaw. He was never the same.
Yeah.
So, it's just common sense. You're not going to be the same when you get your jaw broken in two places. It doesn't matter how they wire it back together. So, it's never going to be the same.
All right, well, that was pretty much it. The last news, for those who have been wondering, for those who care, the Simpleton, Ebony Bridges is off the market. She's knocked up. So.
Ah, fuck no. Who the hell knocked her up?
Yeah, she knocked up. So I don't know, but the scene is looking like, she's done. Like,
thank God.
That's what she was doing.
I just pray a child never finds her only bloody fan page in years to come. Fucking hell. I hope she deletes everything and pretend it never happened.
So hopefully, we don't. I mean, hopefully, it changes her like attitude towards things now that she's supposed to be a mom.
Mm-hmm. Well, all the best to her and whoever knocked her up. But I hope she flips the switch and goes from ex-skanky stripper mode into, good mum mode. So all the best to her.
I'm trying to find it. I hope I didn't dream. I'm pretty sure. No, I know I saw it somewhere. Hold on. Because she was...
I think one of my mates said that to me the other day as well.
Yeah, because she was showing,
I haven't heard it because I haven't been following what's going on.
Oh, yeah, there you go. She's pregnant.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, all right. Well, there you go. So, closing thoughts.
It's a big weekend of boxing. I'm interested to see how the Skye... I don't know if I'm going to drag my ass up because it's going to be like 3 o'clock in the morning for the Skye fight, but I'll probably have to because we're going to do a video straight afterwards, so I'll have to drag my ass up for that. Jai... The one thing I don't like about this is why is Chris Eubank Jr. Who's fighting for the IBO belt, more interesting fight than Jai. I suppose Chris Bill's just not Chris Bill Smith, Chris bloody Eubank Jr. Sorry, I'm getting these blokes mixed up.
Yeah, he's fighting Camille Zermeta, and he had fought Golovkin years ago. He was Golovkin's IBF mandatory.
Yeah, so they're fighting for the vacant IBO strap. It's like, you couldn't have put Jai on the co-main event. That's more of a legit fight than bloody Chris Eubank Jr.
Yeah,
who's really done.
How about that?
So, anyway, but looking forward to the weekend of fights. Hopefully both Jai and actually I don't really care about the Skye fight. If she loses, I'm not going to be shedding any tears. So Jai hopefully smacks out Massey and then gets the unification bout. That's what I want to see. You just can't keep on going to IBF. He's got to start picking up some other belts.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it should be a good event tomorrow. Hopefully it doesn't drag on for too long because these things are known to go for 8 to 10 hours.
Yes.
Bloody hell.
Yes. Brutal. brutal. All right, with that being said, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. We did an in-depth video on Tim Tszyu and Bakram Murtazaliev. In fact, I'll put the link down below. It's going to be the pinned comment for our preview. And of course, we're going to be here next week covering the card. You can follow me at TstreeT Controversy and Old Mate Big J on Twitter. The links are down below in the description box. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.